Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we are inside of Affinity Designer, and I want to show you how I put together this transparent colored glass effect. So what is really cool with this design is that all of these different shapes that we can see inside of our letters will remain completely editable. So for example, if I make my way over to the L on the end over here, if I decide I want to resize these rectangles, all I've got to do is select that at the bottom and just drag that up. And you can see it doesn't affect the effect or the design itself. And I'm free to go ahead and move that around if I wish to. And if I decide I don't even like that, I can just go and delete it. And that applies to any other shape that you have inside of the rest of these letters. So for now, I'll hit Command or Control Z just to undo that. So if this effect is something that you would like to learn, then let's go ahead and get started. So what we need to do first of all is set up a brand new canvas. So if we make our way over to the top left-hand corner to where it says File, go down and select New. Then inside of here, we have many different presets where we can choose a specific size canvas. So you guys are free to use anything that you like. However, for me, I'm going to go over to my presets and I'm going to select my Etsy preset as I like the dimensions of this. And that reminds me, if you guys want to check out any of the products that I've created on my Etsy store, then I'll leave the link in the description. And if you want to copy these same dimensions, then that is going to be 2700 pixels by 2025. So what I'm going to do now is double tap on that to open up the brand new canvas. And from here, I want to give this a background color, so it's going to be a little bit easier for you guys to see the effect. So I'm just going to make my way over to the left-hand side and I'm going to select my rectangle tool. And I'll just drag from one corner down to the other just to fill that white space. Then I'll apply a color to this. And I think I'll go somewhere in the blue. So make that a little bit darker. Just maybe somewhere around there will be perfectly fine. And I'll hit Command or Control 0 just to fit to screen. And now we'll go ahead and get started creating this effect. So what we want to do first of all is just make our way over to the left-hand side toolbar menu. And we're going to select the artistic text tool. Then that is just a case of just dragging to get the rough size that you would like. So from here, all you got to do is write in any word that you would like to use for this effect. For me, I'm going to stick to the original design that I showed you at the beginning of the video. So I'll go ahead and write in cool, but you are free to write anything that you would like. Then I'm going to hit Command or Control A just to select all that text. Then I just want to choose a different font for this. So I'm going to go up to the top left-hand side menu bar to where I have my fonts. And inside of here, I'm going to choose Recent and I'm going to choose that Impact as that is one of my favorite fonts to use. Then I'm going to go back over to the left toolbar menu and select my Move tool at the top. And I'm just going to resize that to fit to screen a little bit better. So I just drag that out. Then we're going to use our guides just to center this in the middle with that green and that red right there so it's snapped into place. Then what we're going to do from here is convert this text to be a compound shape. And the way that we would do that is by using our shape building tools on the top right hand side toolbar menu. And specifically, we're going to be using the add function. However, before we go ahead and select the add function, there's going to be an important step that we've got to take. If you do not remember this, it's not going to work. And all that is just holding a specific key on your keyboard before you go ahead and select the add function. So on a PC, it's going to be the Alt key, and on a Mac, it's going to be the Option key. So for me, because I'm on a Mac, I'll hold down Option and I'll hit that add button at the same time. Now over in our layers, you can now see that we have a compound folder, which contains our text. So just to quickly demonstrate, I'm just going to undo that by Command or Control Z. So we're just back to our original text file, and I'll go ahead and select that add function without holding down either Alt or Option. And what you can see has happened now is that has converted that to a curves file instead of a compound. And that is not what we want to do. So once again, I'll hit Command or Control Z to undo and go back up to the add function, holding down the Option key on my keyboard. I'll hit that add again. And now once again, I've got that compound folder with my text inside of that. So at the moment, we can't actually see anything because we have to reapply a color to this. So with our compound folder selected in our layers, all we've got to do is come up and just give that a color. So I'll go back to black. And now it's back to its original state. So what's important to remember is that this always remains editable, like I stated at the beginning. If you decide that you want to go ahead and change this word to be something else, all you got to do is go inside of your compound folder over in your layers, select your text file and just double tap, and then you go ahead and just change that to be anything you would like. For me, I'm just going to keep it the way it was, but you are free to do that. So moving on with this, what we need to do now is start introducing some shapes and talk a little bit about the compound folder and what it actually does. So first of all, I'm going to make my way back over to the left-hand side toolbar menu and select my rectangle tool. And moving back over to the L, I'm just going to draw out a rough size rectangle that I would like to use. So something like that will be perfectly fine. So with that created, if we go ahead and pay attention back over to our layers, you can now see that we have the rectangle that we just created. But over to the right-hand side of that, you can see we have this little box and the circle with the plus symbol inside of it. And what this actually is, it's a way of mimicking the tools that we have up here in our shape building menu. However, it's only going to affect what is inside of this compound folder. So if we go ahead and just select our shapes over here on our layer, you're going to have this sub menu which says add, subtract, intersect and XOR. What we want to choose in this is going to be subtract. Then what that has actually done is cut out that rectangle from the word cool. And now we can make our way over to the left-hand side toolbar menu and select our move tool. And we can freely move that around wherever you would like, as well as resize that if you want to. So what I'm going to do now is just roughly put this where I want it. And I'm going to make a copy of this with Command or Control C and Command or Control V to paste. It's going to drag that over and do that once again. Command or Control C to copy and Command and Control V to paste. And just bring that over. Then what I'm also going to do is select all three of these at the same time. You guys don't have to do this. I just like to make sure my spacing is equal. So I'm going to hold down Command or Control while selecting each one of these. That will allow you to select all three of these layers at the same time. So then I'm going to go up to the top menu bar to my alignment options. Then I'm going to choose align horizontally with this option right here on the far right, which is space horizontally. Then I'm going to turn off auto distribute. And I'm just going to change this to the rough size I would like. So maybe somewhere around there be perfectly fine. And I'll go ahead and hit apply. Then I'm just going to try and center that just to make it look a little bit better. And maybe just bring that up and just down, getting closer to the edge, kind of make it equal spacing. Like I said, this step isn't important for you guys. I just like to be a little bit more specific. So instead of drawing out more rectangles, to be just a little bit quicker in the video, I'm just going to copy all three of these with Command or Control C to copy and Command or Control V to paste. I'm then just going to drag this over to be in the other letter. Then I'm just going to resize those a little bit so it fits a little bit better with the design. Then I'll drag that up. So somewhere roughly around there be perfectly fine. And you can see over in our layers that has copied the same effect with a subtract. Now I'm going to add a few additional shapes on the other side of this O. So moving back over to the left-hand side toolbar menu, this time around I'm going to choose a heart. So if you drag from one side down to the other and you hold down the shift key at the same time, that will lock your proportion so it'll be a perfect heart. So once I've done that, I'm going to go and grab my move tool just so I can move that into a better position. Somewhere around there be perfectly fine. Then I'm going to make a copy of this once again with Command or Control C. Then Command or Control V to paste. It's going to bring that down a little bit. Once again, I'll make another copy of this one with Command or Control C. Then Command or Control V to paste. Bring that one down once again to roughly where I want to place it, somewhere around there. So at the moment, we can't see these because we haven't subtracted those yet. So if we go back over to our layers on the right-hand side and on each one of our hearts, if we go ahead and just choose subtract, then that will also cut those out from the letters. So once again, you could go ahead and select each one of your hearts and go up to your alignment options if you guys want perfect space in between these. However, just to be a bit quicker with the video, I'm going to go ahead and ignore that for now. So what I want to do next over in our layers is at the bottom where we have the word cool, I want to make another copy of that. So I'm going to hit Command or Control C to copy and Command or Control V to paste. And what you will notice is that everything above our bottom layer has the option to add or subtract. And the reason we don't have that feature available on the bottom one is that everything else above it needs something to subtract from, which is going to be our bottom layer. So now we have the other version of cool created above that. What I want to do is I want to double tap on that so I can remove some of these letters. So first of all, I'm going to move that C. I'm going to move the other O, and I'm going to move that L. Then I'm going to head over to the left-hand side toolbar menu and select my move tool. And I just want to roughly bring this back over to line up with the O on the second letter. So somewhere around there. Then going back over to our layers, we're going to change this now to be subtract, so it cuts it out. Then I'm just going to slightly resize this. I'm going to start dragging it in just to give us a bit of a different effect. So just on both sides like that, maybe bring that down a little bit on the top. And then just move that around to make it look a little bit better. Just going to bring that over so we can see the center as well. So something like that is exactly what I am going for. Then what I want to do next is I'm going to bring some of these hearts back over to this side as well. So if we go back over to our layers, and I'm just going to make a duplicate copy of all the hearts. So I'm going to select this top one while holding down Command or Control while select the others. Then I'll go ahead and hit Command C for copy and Command V for paste. Then I'm just going to drag these over to the other letter and roughly line those up to where I want them to go. So somewhere around there will be fine. So what we're going to do differently on this side is instead of subtracting these, we want to actually add those. So it becomes a solid shape rather than being cut out. So if we go back over to our layers now, and this time round, instead of subtract, we're going to choose add on each one of these hearts. And then that is going to make them a solid shape and part of the design. Then finally, we're just going to focus on the letter C. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to write in so we have so cool. So to do that, once again, I'll grab the artistic text tool on the left hand side. And I'll just drag that out to the rough size I'm going for. So I'll give that an S. I'm going to hit enter so it goes underneath that and give that an O as well. Once again, I'm going to Command A or Control A to select all. Go ahead and change my font to be the same as the other one, which was Impact. Then I'll go ahead and drag this into place. So somewhere around there will be perfectly fine. So before I move on, something I want to do a little bit differently here is I want to convert these to curves. And the reason for that is I want to be able to give them individual colors. So with these selected now, if we go up to the top toolbar menu to where it says convert to curves, if we go ahead and select that, now inside of our layers, you can see we have a new group which contains our O and our S. So I'll just select both of these and drag those out of the group and just delete that group because I don't need it. So with these two now selected, I'm going to go ahead and choose subtract as well on the O as well as the S. Then I'm just going to hold down Command or Control just to select both of these so I can roughly move them more in the center. So somewhere around there will be fine. Then that is the general design complete. All we got to do from here is give it some colors and then start adding effects. So unfortunately, when it comes to coloring this in, it's not going to be a simple case of maybe selecting one of these shapes such as a heart and going to your color wheel and giving that a different color. As you can see, it has no effect whatsoever. And the reason for that is because it's either been added or subtracted from the compound folder. So we could go ahead and change all of this black right here to be a different color if you wish to. And the way that you would do that is by selecting the compound folder itself. Then just go ahead and apply a different color to that. However, this isn't what I want to do as it's not going to give us the effect that I showed you at the beginning of the video. So what we're going to do instead is we want to make a copy of all of these different shapes that we have inside of our compound folder, apart from the cool at the bottom. So if we select our top layer there being one of the hearts, hold down shift on your keyboard and select the bottom layer, the one just above the cool. So it would be that O right there. That then is going to select all of these. Then we'll go ahead and make a copy with Command or Control C to copy and Command or Control V to paste. Then with all of these selected, I just want to make a group. So we're going to hit Command or Control G. Then that will form that into a group. Then we need to remove our group from the compound folder. So if we just drag that up and out, then what I want to do is just close this compound folder just for a moment. And I want to move this new group underneath that. And I'm going to rename this group to be colors. Then using the drop down menu on our colors folder, we can now access all the different shapes and give them different colors. So starting off with our heart here at the bottom, I'll give that a color of green. So what we need to remember at this point, as it's important and it will not work without it, is that every single time we change any of the colors of the shapes, we also need to change the blend mode. So in order to change the blend mode, all we have to do is select the color that we currently want to change, give that a different color, go down to where it says opacity, over to the right hand side of that. You're just going to change from normal down to overlay. And that is going to be the same process across any of these different shapes. So at the moment, this may not look as though it's done anything, apart from maybe made your color a little bit lighter. However, this will go more into effect once we've got an image in the background. So moving on to the next heart, we'll grab that one right there and I'll give that a color of orange. So once again, you need to remember that once you change the color, you want to also change the blend mode to overlay. And then we'll do the same thing with the other heart and I'll give that a darker color of blue and once again change that to overlay. So at this point, I'm going to speed up the video while I'll color all the rest of these in. And you guys are free to pause the video at the moment while you also color in yours, just to make the video that little bit quicker so you guys don't have to sit there for ages watching me color all these individual pieces. However, one thing I do want to quickly mention before I speed up the video is that these 3 hearts that we have on the O over here, we want to go ahead and change these ones to white, as this is going to help with the effect. At the moment, we can't see these, but don't worry too much about that. Just make sure you select those and you change them to white and go ahead and just find that last one, which I think is that one right there. And once again, change that to white. So I'm just going to speed this up right now and you guys are free to pause the video and also color in your shapes. And I'll see you in just a moment. Okay, so I've now completed all the different colors from my different shapes. And the only thing I haven't done, which you guys may have missed as well, is when we change the color of our hearts to being white, I didn't change that blend mode. So you want to just go in there and make sure that you do have overlay on all your white hearts as well. Also, if you find it easier to stay a little bit more organized, then you can go ahead and just drag the other white heart underneath it. So we've got all 3 of those together. So with that now complete, what we need to do next is we're going to select our compound folder and we want to apply an effect to this. So with the folder selected, we're going to go down towards the bottom of our layers and we're going to choose effect. Then inside of here, we are going to choose the outer shadow. And for the radius, I'm going to set that at around 10 pixels. I'll go ahead and hit enter for that to apply. And for the offset, I'm going to have that around 12.7. And you guys are free to mess around with these different settings and see what you come up with and if it looks any better for you. So for the intensity, I'm going to have that around 43% and hit enter. And now we can kind of see how this is starting to come together with these shadows in the background, kind of giving it that 3D effect. So what we need to do next after the outer shadow is we want to add a 3D feature. And for the radius on the 3D, I'm going to put that around 8 pixels. And now that's kind of giving us this 3D beveled effect just around the edges here. Then finally on our compound folder, I just want to add a gradient overlay just so we can make that go a little bit darker to lighter. So inside of the gradient box right here, I'm going to change that black just to be a little bit more gray. And on the white, I'm also going to change that to be gray and just make that fade just a little bit. Kind of like that is perfectly fine. Then that is all we need to do on our compound folder. So I'll go ahead and close that. Next, we want to also apply an effect to our colors folder. So with that selected, we're going to also go down to where it says effects at the bottom of our layers. And this time round, I want to add an inner shadow. And I'm going to give that a radius of around 100 pixels. And I'm going to ignore the offset and the intensity on the inner shadow. We're going to leave that the way it is. But what we do want to change is the color for being black over to being white. And then that's going to kind of give us a glass effect that we're going for with a little bit of a shine. You may not see that right now, but you will do once we put the image in the background. Then finally, what we need to do is we're going to add an outline. So we'll go ahead and select that one. And for the color on this, I want to kind of give it a bit of a silver look. So somewhere in the grays, maybe around there will be perfectly fine. And for our radius, I'm going to give that a 3.6. And then finally, on the alignment options right there, you can see it says outside. We want to go ahead and change that to inside. Then I'll go ahead and close that out. And if I just zoom in real quick, we can now see the outline that we've got here around the heart. And that's just going to make it look a lot more realistic once we have the background image in there. So for now, I'll hit Command or Control 0 to fit to screen. And all we got to do next is just create another copy of our colors folder right there. So with that selected, if we hit Command or Control C for copy and Command and Control V for paste, underneath that we have our new one, which we're going to double tap and rename. And I'll go ahead and call that shadows. Then with that shadows folder selected, what we want to do now is go up to where we have the opacity option. And we're going to change that from 100% down to around 35%. You guys are free to play around with this and see what kind of effect you could get. The 35% will do for the tutorial. So then finally, with our shadow folder selected and highlighted, what we need to do now is just slightly offset this to the right and down a little bit. So if you hold down shift on your keyboard and use your arrow keys, we're going to hold down shift and use the arrow right key just once, just to move that slightly. And once again, hold down shift and use the arrow down key once. Then that should be the design completely finished. That may not look as though it's done anything to you, but you'll see it more when you've got the image in the background, and it's going to really help towards a 3D look. So before we go ahead and bring the background image in, all I want to do is just combine all three of these folders into one group. So I'm going to select the compound one, hold down shift and select the shadow one. That then will select what's in between that. And I'm going to hit Command or Control G just to group that. Then I'll just head over to my original composition on my other file, and I'll just go and grab that background. So I'll make a copy of that one with Command or Control C. Then I'll come back to our design and I'll just paste this in with Command or Control V. And because we grouped this, we can now just resize that a little bit without losing any of the quality and move that around however you like. So now you can see how this effect is working. When you move it over different colors, it changes the shade of the overlay colors. And you are always free to go inside of here, back into your colors folder and change any of these colors in here if you like. However, what you do need to remember, if you do want to change any of these colors, you're also going to have to change the same color in the shadows as you do in the colors menu as well. Otherwise, it may not quite look right, but it really is as simple as that. And just like I said before, if you want to delete anything on here, just go to your compound folder and just remove the original shape. Just by simply selecting that and deleting it. So we'll get rid of that S, for instance, and now you can see that it's gone. So I'll just hit Command or Control Z just to bring that back. And it's always going to look a little bit different depending on the image that you have in the background. So we could go ahead and just search for something else just to see if we can get a different effect. So I'll just drag in maybe this paint one right here and just drop that on top of this one. Then I'll go back to my layers and I'll just make sure that image is at the bottom of our group. And you can see we have the same kind of effect right here with this background. However, personally, I think it looks so much better on this one. So I would love to see the designs that you guys come up with using this method. If you want to go ahead and share your images with me, then you can follow me on Facebook or Instagram to share your pictures that you have done. And I'll leave my links in the description for my social media. And remember what I said, none of this is permanent. We can always come in and we can change the colors of the gradient if you wish to. As well as all these different effects, you can go through all the different settings to get something different. Change all of your colors. You can even use different shapes inside of here if you want to. Just go ahead and delete any shapes that you don't want and just create brand new ones. Just always make sure that your new shapes are inside of your compound folder, or it's not going to give you the options to subtract anything or add. So that is it for today's video. I hope you found this useful. If you did like the video, then give me a thumbs up as it really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and check out any future releases that I have coming up. And check out my Etsy store and all of my other social media links. And if you did like today's video and you found it useful, then you can also buy me a coffee if you would like to say thank you. I will also add that link too in the description. But for now, I hope you have a great day and I will see you in my next video.